Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and this is our Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration and what has gone on in the past week. So let's dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about are the vaccine passports. And I don't want to talk about whether we agree with them, whether we don't agree with them. I want to talk about how they impact immigration. So the vaccine passports have certainly been in the news. And the concept of the vaccine passport, if you are unaware, is that everyone, as they're getting vaccinated for COVID-19, they are given a card that indicates, when they were vaccinated and what kind of vaccination, the manufacturer of the vaccination. And so there has been quite a bit of discussion that people should have to bring that card or bring proof of their vaccination to get into certain events, to certain buildings, what have you. So no matter where you fall on this vaccine passport issue, I want everyone to be extremely clear that in order to gain entrance to immigration buildings for your interviews, for your biometrics, you are still going to have to wear a mask. It doesn't matter that you have been vaccinated. If you bring the vaccination card and say, hey, I have a vaccination card, but I don't have my mask, the guards at the door will turn you away. They are still practicing social distancing. They are still taking temperatures at the entrance of the buildings. They are still limiting the number of people that can come in the buildings. And yes, they are still requiring masks. We have not seen anything different. We've seen no guidance come out from the Immigration Service that changes that. So again, no matter where you stand on the spectrum of the vaccine passport issue, understand that immigration still requires a mask for your safety and for the safety of everyone who comes into the building and for the individuals that work in the building. So I wanted everyone to be super clear on that. The second thing I wanted to talk about is what's going on with the U.S. Consulate Overseas. We know that there has been, or continues to be, I should say, a tremendous backlog with applications for individuals who are applying for lawful permanent status or trying to get their green card. Same thing, lawful permanent status and green card. So Department of State has released a few notes for us to kind of help us understand where they are, what they're doing, and how they're trying to sort through this backlog. So they are not going to use video technology at this point for their interviews at consulates overseas. So while that's a bit of a bummer, I'm guessing they think it's a security issue. They want to make sure that the person that they're speaking with is the person in the application. And I'm thinking they can't figure out kind of the security behind that to verify identity. So they, at this point, are not going to avail themselves of video technology for interviews at the consulates overseas. If you are in a country that is large enough to have more than one consulate spread across your country, you probably know that in many cases, not all U.S. consulates in a country process immigrant visas. So oftentimes people have to go far from where they live, even though they may live close to a consulate. If a consulate that they live close to does not process immigrant visas, they are still going to have to travel to a consulate that does. From Department of State's perspective, they have said that that is essentially an efficiency issue for them, and that they want to consolidate that green card immigrant processing at only certain offices, so that they don't have people kind of spread apart doing that. So that, kind of is what it is. I've been getting calls about that lately, people having to go to a consulate that is not specifically the closest to them. So I wanted to address that. Each consulate, I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, each consulate is phasing in getting back to a normal workload based on the country and city conditions in which they are in. Again, Department of State takes this very, very seriously, but they also, they need to understand and work with the specific country conditions where each consulate is located. But they are at all consulates doing their best to phase back into what is a normal workload for them. Once they are back at normal workload, hopefully that will help them go through the backlog. Some updates for our diversity visa applicants. So for those individuals that applied for diversity visa fiscal year 2020, if your visa was issued and put in your passport and you were not able to come to the United States because of the pandemic and because of all the travel restrictions, Department of State has indicated that you will be able to travel on that expired diversity visa lottery visa. You do not have to go back into the consulate and request a new visa be placed into your passport. However, if you were selected for the diversity visa and you did not have an opportunity because of the pandemic to go into a consulate, have your interview, and ultimately get the diversity visa in your passport, you will not be able to get one now. Department of State has said they are unable to process those visa applications at this time because of the way the law is currently written. So they are encouraging those individuals to apply for other, more later diversity visa lottery times. But that said, that doesn't give you a leg up in the next lottery that you apply in. You are put into the lottery just like everyone else. So please be aware of that. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to give my office a call. I know that can be a little bit confusing for some folks. And next up, we have our students, our F-1 OPT students. So we got some great news this past week, which is F-1 OPT, which is optional practical training. Those students can now apply for their EADs online, and that applies to individuals applying for their EAD for pre and post completion OPT. So pre-completion OPT is when you start your OPT while you are still in classes and you have not graduated yet. Post-completion OPT is when you apply for your 1 year of OPT that you are eligible for after your degree has completed and you have graduated. It also applies for your 2-year STEM OPT extension, and STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So if you have a degree in a STEM field, you are eligible for an extra 2 years of OPT. So this is great news. I am hopeful, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, that along with being able to apply online, I'm hoping this means that USCIS has figured out a way to bring down the processing times for the EADs and process the EADs quicker than they currently are. Because now some students have had to postpone starting with their employers because of lengthy EAD processing times. So hopefully the ability to file online is just one more step to us getting those processing times reduced. So fingers crossed for that. The last thing I wanted to talk about today deals with lawful permanent residents, or our green card holders, who have been stuck outside of the US because of the pandemic. In general, if you are a lawful permanent resident of the United States, it is expected that you are in the United States, that you have taken up residence in the United States, that you are living here full time. Of course, you are allowed to travel. There's no issues with that. However, the Immigration Service frowns upon you spending 6 months out of the country. And at that point, there is a presumption that you no longer want to be a permanent resident. So if you've spent 6 months out of the country, sometimes you have a conversation with the Customs and Border Protection agents in the airport when you are entering, and they sometimes will simply gently remind you that you really shouldn't be out more than 6 months. Sometimes they will put a physical note, handwritten note in your passport. Sometimes they will put notes in the system. Sometimes they will just let you go. Other times you may have to go to secondary. Um, if you are out of the US for more than 1 year, up to a year, then you are pretty much guaranteed a trip to secondary when you enter. So they take you out of line, you're taken into secondary, and you are questioned as to why you are outside of the US for so long. Depending on the length of time, the Immigration Service can absolutely start proceedings to revoke your green card because they assume at that point that you don't want it. And then it is up to you to explain to them why you do want it and that you have actually taken steps and that there is a reason that you were out of the country for so long. So now we are in the middle of a pandemic. There were travel restrictions, countries were on lockdown. There are many lawful permanent residents who are stuck outside of the US still in April, who are subject to travel restrictions. The Department of State, Department of Homeland Security is incredibly sensitive to this issue. So they have issued us guidance that helps us as outside counsel, essentially help you all who are stuck with maneuvering that and getting back into the US. I want to caution you, this is not for individuals who got their green card 5 years ago, moved outside of the US, threw their green card in a drawer, and are now wanting to come back to the US. This sense of wanting to help people that are stuck outside the US, I do not think is going to be really helpful for individuals who have clearly, abandoned their lawful permanent residence, are currently living outside of the US, don't have any ties to the US. But if you truly were stuck outside of the country because of the pandemic, the Department of State, who oversees the consulates, as well as Department of Homeland Security, is very sensitive to this, and they want to assist people with resuming residence here in the United States when it is safe for them to do so. So if you have any questions about coming back into the country, if you are an LPR or lawful permanent resident that is outside of the country, or questions about the ability for F-1 OPT students to apply online, or anything else immigration related, feel free to give my office a call at 954-903-1337. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and this has been another fun edition of Beyond the Soundbite, and I am here every Monday morning. So if you are watching this on the replay and have questions, feel free to pop those in the comments, or if you want to email my office, we're happy to schedule a consultation and talk about your case. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.